Oh, Mr. Whiskers. What do you tell a squeaky shoe? Put a sock in it!
今のはいけなかったし、悪いと思ってほしいの。
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Williams again with another educational video for you guys. And today we're going to be talking about properties of matter. Before we get started though, I gotta give a quick shout out to Garrett, who has earned the distinction of my now favorite student. If you want to know how he earned that, go back to episode 2 and watch really carefully to see what I put in there. And Garrett, you have earned yourself a big old helping of homemade ice cream come next year. So congratulations on that. And the rest of you have the opportunity to also earn some delicious rewards if you continue watching. So with the new work that you received over the past few days, you will notice that we're actually taking a little trip back to some of the stuff that we've already talked about. So I'm gonna keep it short and simple, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about matter. So there are two ways that we have to go about describing matter. There are several ways that we have to go about talking about matter. We describe matter as having an amount to it. So it's made up of a certain amount of stuff and it takes up a certain amount of space. So those two terms would be what you would recognize as mass and volume. Take Mr. Whiskers here, for example. Mr. Whiskers is thicker than a Snicker, and that's because he has his mass over quite a sizable volume. All right, not saying he needs to go on any diet or anything, but he's kind of been hitting my Kit Kats a little too hard, if you know what I mean. Mr. Whiskers here has a certain amount of mass to his volume that is going to be different from, say, this cast iron pan. So I think all of you at home can figure out which one is heavier than the other, even though this cast iron pan takes up less space or volume than Mr. Whiskers. What that tells you then that this pan has a lot of mass, a lot of stuff packed into its volume, the space that it takes up. So because it has all of this mass packed into this kind of small volume, we say that it has a high density. So density is looking at the amount of stuff you're made up of over how much space that you take up. A lot of matter, a lot of stuff in a small space, lots of density. Not that much matter or stuff taking up a larger space or volume, not very dense. So if Mr. Whiskers was in a life or death situation and needed to float to safety, he'd probably be all right. But we cannot really say the same for Mr. Frying Pan here. He's going to sink like a rock. Well, even harder than a rock because cast iron. Density is looking at the relationship between mass and volume. And we can represent that. So here, density is going to be our mass over our volume, and our mass is measured in grams, and our volume is either measured in milliliters or cubic centimeters. So you may see in some of the work that you have to do, figure out the density of Kerfluppenbonker that has a mass of 15 grams and it takes up a volume of 60 milliliters. So that Kerfluppenbonker is gonna come out to have a density of 15 over 60, which is writing upside down. That's a 2. Is that how it's supposed to look? I think 0.25. Oh, forget our units. Grams per milliliter. Whenever you need to figure something like that out, you have to look at your units and make sure that your mass is going over your volume. And then if you needed to figure out any of the others, like you were given the density and the volume, then you would multiply both sides by volume in order to get mass on something. It's math stuff. You know your math stuff, right? Right? This also brings up a topic particularly for you 8th graders where we are talking about gravity. Gravity is a property of matter. What that means is all matter, all stuff in this universe has a gravitational force. The reason why I like Mr. Whiskers a lot is because of his very attractive personality, gravity. And I can get into forces at another time. I just want to bring it back around to the basics so that you don't forget the building blocks, the most basic of the concepts. So then when we start talking again about Newton's laws, we talk about waves, all of that stuff relies on you knowing that matter is made up of stuff, of atoms, and they take up a certain amount of space, volume, and one of the properties of all matter is how many of its atoms are stuck together into one spot. This density is really important. Some of you know just how important density is when you jump into a pool and you sink straight to the bottom. I just thought I'd keep it short today. I'll be trying to come out with another video very soon. And in the meantime, I have a TV stand to make. So eat your vegetables, don't be annoying to your parents, take care of household chores, wash your hands often, and yeah, be your best selves. Till next time, see ya!
またねー。